Part 12. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 111. Chapter 111 Chapter 111 That person is you. Uncle Wu, I want to go out to eat. Zhang Xiaoxiao had no interest in managing the company at all, so it was quite difficult for her to read all the information. Still going to the same place as before. Good. Fu Chenxiao put on his coat, took the car keys, held her hand and walked out. When Zhang Xiao passed by Mo Jiangxiang's place, his mind suddenly turned and he stopped, not missing any good opportunity. Secretary Mo, do you want to go to dinner with us? Luo Yi, who was teaching Mo Zhangxiang on the side, felt his scalp tense and looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao in shock. He wanted to say a few words to help his poor apprentice. Little miss. Little miss, I have already had breakfast. I wish you a pleasant meal. Mo Zhangxiang rejected Zhang Xiao with a smile. Luo Yi was satisfied and praised his apprentice in his heart. He did a good job and was smart. He didn't think about things that didn't belong to him. Zhangxi. Fu Chenxiao held someone's hand with a little force, and Zhang Xiaoxi immediately pulled him away forcefully. Zhang was eating porridge and side dishes when he was young, and occasionally took a peek at the boss. The heroine had no feelings for the boss now, so he was a boss. Maybe the boss had feelings for the heroine. Zhang Xiao's head was spinning so fast that he didn't feel at all that he was on the road to death. Fifth uncle. Fu Chenxiao looked at someone with an unnatural expression indifferently. Zhang Xiaoxiao took a shallow breath and pretended to chat. Uncle Wu, are you sure that Mo Zhangxiang is the secretary? Fu Chenxiao took a slow sip of water, his expression unchanged at all. If you like her, even if she is not, I will let Luo Yi train her. Zhangxi. Fifth uncle, do you think Mo Zhangxiang is beautiful? Fu Chenxiao raised his eyelids slightly and looked at her silently for 2 seconds with his deep black eyes. He lifted her chin with one hand and said with a seductive tone in his voice, when I was young, Uncle Wu only had eyes for one woman, and he only thought one woman was beautiful. That person is you. Zhang Xiaoxiao's face turned red the moment he finished speaking, from his neck to the tips of his ears. His heart was beating rhythmically, and his eyelashes, as dense as a fan, were trembling slightly. Having been single for more than 20 years, she was asked one after another to be confessed by such a handsome man. Although she knew in her heart that the big man was confessing his love to this body, she couldn't help but her heart beat faster. Fifth uncle, we can't have anything to do with each other. Zhang Xiaoxiao blushed and tilted his head to one side. Fu Chenxiao didn't give her a chance to escape at all, forcing her to look at him with sharp and cold eyes. I said yes, it's okay. When you're young, Uncle Wu allows you to be naughty, but you don't challenge Uncle Wu's bottom line. Uncle Wu's, if your patience is exhausted, you will not be able to bear the consequences. Zhang Xiaoxiao swallowed her throat and looked at Fu Chenxiao in panic. She had the illusion that the boss had seen through the little juju in her heart and was warning her. Uncle Wu, I know. Zhang Xiaoxiao was frightened by the boss's gaze. It was only right for her to pretend to be well-behaved and honest, and to keep to herself before leaving. It's good to know. Come here. Fu Chenxiao let go of her and raised his fingers at her. Zhang Xiao passed over obediently, feeling suspicious and looking at the boss blankly. Kiss me. Fu Chenxiao pointed to his thin lips and said. Uncle Fu is flirting with Zhang Xiaozhang all the time, telling me loudly, do you want to escape when you are young? Ha 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 ha. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 112. Chapter 112 Chapter 112 Good things should be shared together. Zhang Xiaoxiao was dumbfounded and looked at the surrounding environment. There were many people dining, and the boss asked her to kiss him in public. He wanted to kill her. Fifth uncle. Don't be afraid, no one dares to say anything. Uncle Wu is here for everything, Xiao Xiao Fujianxiao stared at Zhang Xiaoxi, with a leisurely posture, as if there was no one around, comforting Zhang Xiaoxi, or in other words, he was bewitching Zhang Xiaoxi. Let her take the first step. Zhang Xiao didn't dare. She was afraid of making headlines tomorrow. The Fu family has been a century-old family in Ruchin. Every move was under the media's attention, so she couldn't be allowed to spend a day or two before leaving in peace. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the boss hesitantly and wanted to talk about the conditions. Uncle Wu, go back. Well. As soon as Zhang Xiao's lips felt warm, the boss covered her lips. Zhang Xiaoxiao panicked and hurriedly pushed away. Fortunately, the boss only kissed her gently. Fifth uncle. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at Fu Jianxiao aggrievedly. Fu Jianxiao raised the corners of his lips in a good mood and looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao with a red face. Do you want to go back? Go back, go back. Zhang Xiaoxiao nodded as hard as the little chicken's wommy. She was afraid that the boss would suddenly want to do something shocking later, but her little heart couldn't bear it. She was eager to go back. Fu Jianxiao frowned deeply. The good mood just now was no longer there. His eyes were dark and deep as he looked at her back walking in front. Zhang Xiao walked very fast with his head down, not caring whether the boss could keep up or not. Our. Hearing a familiar voice, Zhang Xiaoxiao stopped walking quickly and looked in the direction of the sound. It was Chu Hanyu who had an unknown man next to her. Xiaoxiao, I was just about to say I would go see you after I finished shopping, but I didn't expect to meet you here by such a coincidence. Chu Hanyu walked to Zhang Xiaoxiao in 2 or 3 steps. The man behind her followed her slowly, still carrying something in his hand. When I was young, is your face feeling better? Well, Uncle Guan gave me some secret medicine today. Why did you come out if you weren't in class? Zhang Xiao glanced at the watch on her hand at 9 o'clock. She should be in school at this time. Chu Hanyu looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao helplessly, and began to complain, you were injured. My family was afraid that something like this would happen to me, so they didn't allow me to go to school and found a tutor for me. The teacher is rigid and cruel, just like the exterminator. I finally found an excuse and decided to take the 3-year college entrance examination and the 5-year practice test. Jiangxi. I also bought you a good thing to share with everyone. Chu Hanyu took out a thick copy of simulation questions from the man's bag and gave it to Zhang Xiaoxi. Zhang Xiao looked at the nightmare of every college entrance examination student with a twitching corner of her mouth. She cast her gaze on the man behind her and asked curiously, who is this handsome man? Chu Hanyu curled his lips and answered her, the son of my mother's friend is called Chen Baiking. He likes you. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the man in front of him who had a similar temperament to Guan Yang. Chu Hanyu's cheeks suddenly burned up and turned red. I have met him less than 3 times in total. I don't know whether I like him or not, but it is true that he is mentally ill. I met him on the road and he came with me. He also said take me out to eat. Why do I look at him? His eyes have never left yours. This look is exactly the same as the way you look at uncle. And Zhang Xiao said whatever came to his mind, and he didn't know how much these words affected Chu Hanyu's heart. Waves. Thank you, can't you be too harsh? Baby's reward. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 113. Chapter 113. Chapter 113. Then I like you, why can't you tell? Chu Hanyajuan's beautiful brows furrowed and looked at Chen Baiking. Liu Yan suddenly felt confused. Chen Baiking just looked at her with a smile and was very quiet on the side, waiting quietly for her to chat with Zhang Xiaoxi, and then gave appropriate advice. There is a dessert shop in front, you can go there to chat. Chu Hanyu said, okay. Jiangxi, not good. Chu Hanyu looked at Zhang Xiaoxi doubtfully. What, do you have something to do later? I came out with Uncle Wu, and she was behind, Zhang Xiaoxiao said. The smile on Chu Hanyu's face suddenly froze, and she turned her head back in fear. From a distance, she saw Fu Jianxiao's figure getting closer and closer. In almost a second, she ran behind Chen Baiking. When I'm young, I'll leave first. I'll see you on your birthday the day after tomorrow. Jiangxi. I put the hourly simulation questions here. Chu Hanyu gave Zhang Xiaoxiao the simulation questions and placed them on the table next to him. He took Chen Baiking's wrist and ran quickly. Fu Jianxi walked up to Zhang Xiaoxi, looked at the retreating figure with cold eyes, and squinted. Xiaoxiao, was that girl Niu just now? Yeah. Zhang Xiao held the college entrance examination questions she had left in his arms. Fu Jianxiao took the book from her arms and asked seemingly naturally, was it your uncle and who was with her just now? Zhang Xiao frowned and opened his thin lips slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say what he wanted to say. Well, Uncle An went out with her to buy college entrance examination simulation questions. Zhang Xiao didn't understand why she lied. Maybe it was because she really cared about her friend Chu Hanyu. In all the chapters she read, there was no CP between An Nangxuan and her. The one just now was named Chen Baiking. She seemed to see, however, no doubt it will be Chu Hanyu's CP. So she hopes that Chu Hanyu can be happy, and as for An Nangxuan, he should also have his own official wife. Fu Jianxi raised his eyebrows, looked at Zhang Shishi with cold eyes, and said in a very calm voice, Xiaoxi, your uncle An is on a business trip in Zhangcheng. Jiangxi. When you were young, your uncle An and Niu had a close relationship. It's not up to you to decide whether they want to be together or not. Zhang was so talkative when she was young, but the boss even saw it and asked her, which was just teasing her, Uncle Fifth, I don't think Uncle An likes Hanyu, but the man just now likes Hanyu. Fu Jianxi held her hand and looked forward, with a cold and three-dimensional profile, and raised his thin lips. You can tell that this man likes Niu just after meeting him. Zhang Xiao muttered in a low voice, it's like someone has never been in love. You can't even tell. Fu Jianxi heard her muttering in a low voice. He stopped, lowered his head and stared at her with deep eyes. He held her hand and said with force, since you can see that the man likes Niu, then why can't you see that Uncle Wu, I like you, but I still want to escape Uncle Wu. Zhang Xiao was so excited by the big brother's words that he could hardly breathe. His ears were burning and he was trembling. Uncle Wu, you said you would give me time. Fu Jianxi raised his thin lips and then calmed down his strong aura. Well, I'll give you time, but it's only a small hour. You don't have much time. Zhang Xiaoxiao's heart trembled. The boss was really reminding her all the time that she was about to be harmed. Uncle Wu, you must keep your word. Fu Jianxi touched her head and said softly, that is only if you are obedient. Jiangxi. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 114. Chapter 114. Chapter 114 was customized half a year ago. Zhang Xiaoxiao thought that the boss would take her back to the company, but unexpectedly, the boss took her to a private custom dress shop. The store manager saw Fu Jianxi appear and immediately came over to greet him. Mr. Fu, the dress you ordered has just arrived. Do you want to see it? Well, take her in and put her on, Fu Jianxi said in a deep voice. The store manager immediately turned his gaze to Zhang Xiaoxiao and made a gesture of invitation with his right hand. Miss, please come with me. Zhang Xiaoxi. What's going on? Zhang Xiaoxiao followed the store manager with a look of doubt on his face. After going around many rooms, I finally entered one of them. When I opened the door, there were about 7 or 8 people standing inside. Leave your hairstyle on and let the makeup artists go out, the store manager said to those inside. There were originally 7 or 8 people, but now only 3 are left inside. Miss, please wait here while I go get the dress. The store manager left the message, leaving Zhang Xiaoxi, who was confused the whole time, looking at the people who stayed behind. Ms. Zhang greeted them awkwardly, "Hi, hello." Everyone looked at Zhang Xiao with smiles on their faces. "Zhang Shi. Miss, please drink some water." A pretty girl brought Zhang Xiao a cup of hot water. Zhang Xiaoxiao took this opportunity to understand the situation and relieve her confusion at the moment. "Beauty, I want to ask you, what has Fujian Xiao booked here?" The beauty looked at Zhang Xiaoxi, always maintaining a professional smile. "Miss, Mr. Fu customized a dress with us half a year ago with the design drawings. The dress was just finished today. We gave Mr. Fu a call. He said he would come and try it on today, and I think you will be the owner of that dress." Zhang Xiaoxiao. The boss had already started customizing the dress for Bai Yueguang's birthday party half a year ago, and he still designed it himself. Why did she feel so depressed and uncomfortable? "Miss, are you feeling unwell?" the beauty asked with concern when she saw that Zhang Xiao's expression was not right. Zhang Xiao shook his head, "No." The two chatted for a while and then the store manager came back with the dress. Zhang Xiaoxiao could feel the boss's extreme love for Bai Yueguang at the first glance when he saw the dress. The dress is made of Bai Yueguang's favorite colors of light blue and lavender. The main material of the tube top dress is pearl gauze. The long skirt is stacked in at least a dozen layers. However, because the pearl gauze is light and thin, it will not look too heavy. Thick. The thin pearl gauze is embroidered with Bai Yueguang's favorite baby's breath, and is lightly folded together, extremely beautiful. "Miss, please take off your clothes and I'll help you put on your dress." "Miss. Ah, well, okay." Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at the dress in a daze and responded slowly. With the help of the store manager, Zhang Xiao changed into this light blue and purple dress, and not surprisingly, she received praise from the store manager. "Miss, this dress is tailor-made for you, it's so beautiful." Ms. Zhang glanced at herself in the full-length mirror. She was very beautiful, but why couldn't she be happy? There was still a strange emotion in her heart. She frowned slightly and did not look in the mirror. "Miss, come with me and I'll ask the hairstylist to give you a hairstyle." The store manager didn't notice anything unusual about Miss Zhang. Zhang Xiao followed the store manager in a low mood throughout the whole process, following her around. After all the processes were completed, a warm breath came close to her back, and a low alcoholic voice sounded in her ears, "Child, do you like it?" End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 115. Chapter 115. Chapter 115. During the period of growth and development. The boss's low alcohol and magnetic voice brushed from the base of her ears. Zhang Xiao's body trembled slightly, and suddenly her cheeks began to heat up, and the tips of her ears turned red. Her pearl-like eyes glanced at the dress, and she replied in a low voice, "I like it." Fujian Xiao held her waist from behind, looked at Zhang Xiaoxi in the mirror, and curved his thin lips upward. "I knew you would like it. How about it, does it still fit?" The size of Zhang Xiao's size half a year ago, when Zhang was still growing and developing, there were likely to be some areas that didn't fit him. For example, the area he could see seemed to have grown a bit. Zhang Xiaoxi originally wanted to say it fit, but when he saw in the mirror where the boss's gaze fell, the skin exposed to the air was stained with a thin layer of powder. He bit his lips and his tone was a little coquettish. "It means, Uncle Wu, can you go out first? You can tell Uncle Wu if it doesn't fit." Fujian Xiao tapped her earlobe affectionately. Zhang Xiao felt a numbness on his back. "Uncle Wu, I'll tell them myself." "Ha ha." Fujian Xiao's low-pitched laughter rang rhythmically in her ears. "Our family has grown up, and we know we are shy." Zhang Xiao. The boss is a big pervert. After Fujian Xiao went out, Zhang Xiaoxiao told the store manager about the inappropriate fit. The store manager remeasured her circumference and showed envy again. "Miss, you have a really good figure." Zhang Xiao waited uncomfortably for her to measure her circumference, then hurriedly changed out of her clothes, put on her sweatshirt and jeans and went out to find the boss. "Uncle Wu, we are going back." Fu Chenxiao frowned slightly when he saw her changing out of her dress. "What, don't you like the dress?" "No, I just don't want to get the dress dirty." Zhang Xiao looked at the boss with his beautiful, dark eyes without blinking. Fu Chenxiao stared at her silently for a while with his deep cold eyes, as if he wanted to see through her. "Let's go back." Zhang Xiao happily followed the boss out of this private custom shop. In the passenger seat, Zhang Xiao looked at the endless flow of people and cars, and suddenly he felt like his ordinary and fulfilling self in real life, busy but happy every day. Thinking about what she encountered recently, she liked it like it was a dream and it would be nice to wake up. "What are you thinking about?" Fu Chenxiao asked. Zhang Xiao looked away, turned to look at the boss, touched the white gauze on his face, and said in a consultative tone, "Uncle Fifth, can I not hold a birthday party?" "Why?" Fu Chenxiao didn't look at her, but his voice was a little deeper. "On my birthday, Uncle Wu, the wound on his face must not have healed yet. I don't want to appear in front of the public with the scar." Zhang Xiao thought that she would be leaving on the day of her birthday party. She was hosting such a big birthday party. If he runs away, he will definitely lose the boss's face, so it's better to keep a low profile as much as possible. Zhang Xiaoxi's words touched the boss's nerves. Fu Chenxiao's face turned dark, his aura changed a bit, and his voice was cold and hard. "Xiao Xiao, it's Uncle Wu who is sorry for you." "Zhang Xiao. Her injury has nothing to do with the big boss. The big boss has already expressed humility to her countless times, and she didn't mean it that way. She had a little selfishness because she felt like seeing that dress. A little strange feeling, like jealousy. Uncle Wu, I just don't want to appear too ugly in front of the public. I don't mean to blame you, not at all." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 116. Chapter 116. Chapter 116. Birthday Party. Jiangxi's birthday party was held at the old house, starting at 7 o'clock in the evening. The birthday party started at 7 o'clock in the evening. The makeup artist and stylist arranged by Fu Chenxiao came to the old house very early on this day, waiting to give Zhang Xiaoxiao a whole body transformation. The real owner, Zhang Xiao, was still sleeping in Nangziyuan to recharge her batteries for her escape at night, but the boss didn't let her continue sleeping. "When I was young, I woke up and went to the old house with my fifth uncle. If I wanted to sleep, I went to the old house and slept." Fu Chen raised her eyebrows and gently lifted her quilt, looking at Jiang's pink and tender face where she slept when she was a child. The corners of her mouth naturally curved. Zhang Xiao opened his hazy eyes dissatisfied, pouted his mouth, dissatisfied that his sleep was disturbed. "Uncle Wu, it's still very early." Fu Chenxiao pinched her pink cheeks and spoke lovingly, "It's 9 o'clock in the morning. You have to go and get dressed. It's almost time. I want to sleep in the car. Be good and be obedient." Zhang Xiao curled her lips and got up reluctantly. After all, she was leaving. In the past 2 days, she had been obedient, well-behaved, and obedient to the boss. It was the last day anyway, so she didn't have to worry about being raped by the boss. Harmony and freedom beckoned to her. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiao felt full of energy and got up faster. Zhang arrived at the old house at exactly 12 o'clock. As soon as he arrived at the old house, he was dragged by a large group of people to the special dressing room of the old house. In the dressing room, The makeup artist looked at the scar that had just scabbed on the left side of Zhang Xiao's face and snaked to his temple. The crease between his eyebrows was almost as big as a fly. Zhang Xiao naturally saw the makeup artist's expression, and didn't want to embarrass others. Such a long wound might not be covered, so he smiled and said to the makeup artist, "The doctor won't let you touch the side of your face. You don't have to change the side." The makeup artist frowned and was silent for a while before speaking, "You can't touch the water, right?" "Zhang Shi. Miss Zhang, don't worry, give me your face. I will definitely not let anyone steal the limelight of your leading role tonight." The makeup artist looked at Zhang Xiaoshi firmly, almost without raising his hand to swear. "Zhang Xiao. Forget it and let her do whatever she wants." Zhang Xiaoshi looked like he was letting the makeup artist do whatever he wanted, so the makeup artist became rude and took out his own bottles and started pouring them on Zhang Xiao's face. Just when Zhang Xiao was about to fall asleep due to being tortured. Crunch. The door to the dressing room was opened, and a familiar voice sounded in her ears, and she looked up slightly. Fu Chenxiao is wearing a tall smoky gray suit and close-fitting suit pants of the same color. On his wrist is a silver watch with bright black leather. The boss is over 1.9 meters tall, and when he puts on this tall suit, he has a figure that is not inferior to that of a male model. Zhang Xiao came up with a few words to describe the boss: heroic, tall, majestic, and dignified. If the boss hadn't been wearing a smoky gray suit today, Zhang Xiao had an illusion. That is, if the boss had been wearing a white or black suit today, she would have thought that the boss was here to be the groom. "Are you hungry? I asked the kitchen to prepare something for you." Fu Chenxiao leaned over and stared at her softly with his black eyes. A bit. Zhang Xiao swallowed unnaturally. Oh my god, the boss's eyes were so psychedelic today. She felt like she couldn't bear it. Fu Chenxiao smiled lightly and rubbed the top of her hair with his dry and warm hands. "I'll ask the servant to bring it up to you. I have put escape on the agenda, ha ha ha." End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 117. Chapter 117. Chapter 117. Uncle Wu hopes that you will continue to be obedient. Yeah, okay. Zhang Xiao nodded obediently. Fu Chenxiao turned around and went out. Zhang Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking that she would run away at night, she still felt guilty when facing the boss. The guilty boss saw that she wanted to escape, so her escape plan would come to nothing. "What are you thinking about?" Fu Chenxiao sat next to her as usual while Zhang Xiao was wandering around. Zhang Xiao shivered in fright, and his glass-like eyes trembled violently. He looked at the boss with a tight and frightened expression on his small face that could not be concealed. "Uncle Wu, aren't you out?" Fu Chenxiao looked at her dark eyes and narrowed his eyes slightly. "I asked Uncle Zhu to go. Why were you scared by me?" The corners of Zhang Xiaoshi's mouth twitched slightly, and his face was full of dissatisfaction with Fu Chenxiao. He whispered back, "Uncle Wu, if there is such a person next to you suddenly, won't you be scared?" The corners of Fu Chenxiao's thin lips twitched in a shallow arc. "When did you become so timid?" "In the past, your uncle deliberately turned himself into a mess and it didn't scare you. Now I just sit down next to you and you are scared. Are you attracted to me, or are you afraid of me?" "Zhang Xiao. Aren't I afraid of you? If I weren't afraid of you, would I even think about running away?" Zhang Xiao could only mutter in his heart and curled his lips. "Uncle Wu, there is probably only one person in Ruchin who is not afraid of you, and that is Grandpa. So, you are afraid of me?" Fu Chenxiao raised his eyebrows slightly, staring at Zhang Xiaoshi with soft light in his dark eyes. Zhang Xiao didn't dare to answer directly. He kept blinking his long black eyelashes and answered the boss with his small eyes. Fu Chenxiao looked at her little eyes, and his cold eyes darkened immediately. Zhang Xiaoxiao's heart trembled, the small paws on his dress suddenly clenched tightly, and he swallowed nervously. When I was young, as long as you were good, your fifth uncle would not hurt you. Zhang Xiao. If the boss knew about her actions tonight, would she have her legs broken and then be imprisoned until she died? Just thinking about it like this made her hold back her fear and her body trembled slightly, so she could only succeed and not fail tonight. He forced a faint smile and said, "Uncle Wu, I will be obedient." Fu Chenexai looked at Zhang Xiaoxi, smiled lightly, and said in a shallow tone, "Uncle Wu knows that you are obedient, and Uncle Wu hopes that you will continue to be obedient." Zhang Xiao's face turned pale, his eyelids trembled slightly, looking at the boss' seemingly gentle face. "Of course, I will always be obedient, don't worry, Uncle Wu." Fu Chenexai touched her head with satisfaction, and then Butler Zhu came in with some food. "Miss Xiao Xiao, please eat some of the nut lotus root starch and purple sweet potato rice cake for comfort." Butler Zhu put the things on the small table closest to Zhang Xiao. Zhang Xiao thanked him politely and started eating from a small bowl to calm his shock. "Eat slowly, Uncle Wu is waiting for you in the hall." Fu Chenexai left the message, then stood up and left the dressing room. Hearing the sound of the door closing, Zhang Xi's hanging heart returned to his own, and he rubbed his arms vigorously to warm up his cold body. The boss is indeed uncertain and leaving is the right choice. "Ms. Zhang, do you still have something to eat?" The makeup artist looked anxiously at her unfinished makeup. Zhang Xiaoxiao looked at himself in the mirror, smiled awkwardly, and then put the bowl down. "You do it, I won't eat it." End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 118. Chapter 118. Chapter 118. Butterfly. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the Fu family's hall was already full of guests. Zhao Huiyan was wearing a flirty floral suit and holding red wine in her hand, walking around various celebrities, like a butterfly, attracting bees and butterflies. Guanyang sat in the corner with a glass of water, watching Zhao Huiyan shuttle around various celebrities. He never liked banquets. If it hadn't been Zhang Xiao's birthday, he would probably be in the laboratory now with his specimens. And Nangxuan walked up to Guanyang with a glass of red wine, touched him, and began to chatter. "Fourth, can you drink some wine? Today is also the coming-of-age ceremony for the 18th-year-old, so you can't relax." Point. Guanyang glanced sideways at Nangxuan and said in a cold voice, "If you get drunk and get into a car accident tonight, and I'm drunk, then you will have no choice but to return to the West." And Nangxuan gritted his teeth and glared at Guanyang. "Fourth brother, can you speak in a human voice?" "Well, it turns out that beasts can't understand human words." And Nangxuan. "Second brother, it turns out you are a beast." Yi Changji appeared out of nowhere and sat next to them. And Nangxuan felt a bad breath in his heart. Sooner or later, he would be so angry at these two bad friends that he would drive away. "Second brother, do you know who I saw when I came here just now?" Yi Changji looked at the two of them with an expression like "Ask me quickly, ask me quickly." Unexpectedly, the two of them ignored him at all, and both of them focused their attention on the banquet crowd. Yi Changji scratched his cheeks and looked at the two of them anxiously, and couldn't bear it anymore. "Second brother, I saw your house." Before Yi Changji finished speaking, he saw Nangxuan standing up suddenly and walking towards the center of the banquet with a sullen look on his body. He followed his figure and turned to Guanyang to show his gratitude. After finishing her words, she said, "Fourth brother, look at the temperament of the man next to Nayuniu. He has the same temperament as you." When I came in, Nayuniu also introduced me that the man was her boyfriend. What is Nayuniu going to do? Dump my dick? Guanyang half squinted his eyes and looked at the man standing next to Niu Niu calmly, as if watching a good show, and said quietly, "The second son's flowers are going to be taken away with the pots and flowers." Yi Changji said nervously, "Second brother doesn't like Niu Niu. Your metaphor is wrong." It should be saying that the flower that second brother pampered has found someone who can continue to pamper it. Het. Guanyang snorted coldly, too lazy to deal with people with low EQ and IQ. And Nangsuan's eyes fell on someone's black silk dress with slits almost reaching her waist. Her eyes were half squinted with a hint of danger, her too thin lips were pursed straight, and her seemingly easygoing mouth was actually full of danger. Nayuniu, come here, didn't I tell you that some people are not allowed to have deep friendships? Chu Hanyu knew Nangsuan very well. His eyes and movements were all deeply ingrained in her heart. She knew that this was a prelude to his anger, but why should he be angry? Naturally, she would not listen to him obediently, but would instead introduce it to him. Uncle An, this is my boyfriend Chen Baiking. As soon as Chu Hanyu finished his introduction, the airflow around them became inexplicably low, making people feel depressed and breathless. Boyfriend. Nayuniu, Uncle An doesn't know that a man you've known for less than a week can become your boyfriend. Have you ever asked me if I agree? And Nangsuan's long and narrow red phoenix eyes stared at Chen Baiking. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 119. Chapter 119 Chapter 119 Ridiculous Engagement. Chu Hanyu almost laughed out loud at Nangsuan's words. Why should she ask him to agree to find a boyfriend? In what capacity does he care about her, her ex-fiancé? Uncle An, I have known Baiking for more than a week. We have known each other since we were children. Moreover, my mother is very satisfied with Baiking. My mother agrees. Uncle An, do we still need your approval? Chu Hanyu said every word. Very clear. And Nangsuan's handsome face darkened visibly to the naked eye, his long eyebrows suddenly tightened, and his phoenix eyes stared coldly at Chu Hanyu and Chen Baiking, calm and terrifying. Chen Baiking is not afraid of Nangsuan. Both of them are hunters. How can they let go of the prey they like so easily? The aura of the strong and the strong are the same. Uncle An. Chen Baiking spoke, and Yi Changji, who came to watch the excitement, spurted red wine out of his mouth in a very indecent manner. And Nangsuan's temples twitched violently, and his handsome face became extremely gloomy. I shouted with Nayuniu, Uncle An, you wouldn't suggest it, right? Chen Baiking looked at Nangsuan with a smile. And Nangsuan remained silent and did not speak, or it could be said that he simply did not want to pay attention to the wild man in front of him. Both of them despise each other, but they are both for the same person now. Chen Baiking will naturally not let go of this opportunity. Uncle An, I know you are engaged to Nayuniu, but Auntie has already told me I will break off this ridiculous engagement made by the old man. I also know that you don't like Niu. I believe you will bless us, right? Nayuniu, Uncle Yi, I will support you. The Chen family has a good family tradition. You girl will not suffer in the past. Yi Changji is trying to die because of his lack of strength. And Nangsuan's mouth curled up coldly, his face was as dark as the bottom of a pot, and he stared at Chu Hanyu. The atmosphere where the three of them were standing was completely different, and there was a faint smell of gunpowder. With such a tense atmosphere, Chu Hanyu began to feel uneasy, because she saw that Nangsuan's cheeks had bulged and his eyes darkened. Just when she was at a loss, the originally noisy hall became quiet, slow music played, and the MC's heartwarming opening remarks came to mind. With the voice of the MC, Zhang Xiao held hands with Mr. Fu and walked down the long red carpet, with all the spotlights shining on them. Zhang Xiao is the most beautiful cub tonight. Wearing a long dress of light blue and lavender, her long hair is braided and falls around her waist. There are dots of baby's breath in the middle of her hair. On her long and slender neck, there is a thin diamond necklace. Going up, the long wound was perfectly utilized by the makeup artist's uncanny skills. She actually painted the wounds into small flowers, which matched the dress tonight just right. Zhang Xiao had never attended any banquets, and she had to say that she was feeling nervous now. After all, she was being watched by so many people, and her high heels were several inches high. She almost fell down several times, but luckily she was stabilized by the old man. Zhang Xiaoxiao followed the old man to the stage. The old man took the microphone and began to speak. "Thank you everyone for coming to attend my granddaughter Zhang Xiaoxiao's 18th-year-old coming-of-age ceremony today." The old man's words "my granddaughter" confirmed Zhang Xiaoxiao's status in the Fu family, which immediately attracted the jealous eyes of many people in the audience. Zhang Xiaoxiao was just a wild girl picked up by the old man, but she actually had such a status. Why not? Makes people jealous. Anyone who is knowledgeable can tell that the inconspicuous necklace on Jiang's neck was worn by the former princess of country Y and is of great value. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 120. Chapter 120 Chapter 120 Bracelets for generations to come. This shows that Zhang Xiaoxiao's status in the Fu family is not just a favorite, but a little princess, the kind who enjoys the ultimate pampering. Although there were many people at the banquet who were complaining about Zhang Xiao, the tutor would not discuss it on the spot. Everyone was waiting for the old man to finish speaking before Fu Jianxiu came on stage. The man is handsome, calm, and exudes a dignified air in every gesture. The boss, who is usually expressionless, now has a soft face, and a soft light shines in his deep and cold eyes. Zhang Xiaoxiao's black pupils reflected the appearance of the big brother, his heart was beating wildly, and all his thoughts were taken away by the big man's unrivaled ease. Fu Jianxiu walked up to her, leaned over, and looked at her softly with his deep eyes. A soft smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and his voice had a seductive flavor. "Happy birthday, little one. I hope that the fifth uncle has prepared an adult gift for you. You like it?" Zhang Xiao was in a daze. The cold touch on her wrist brought her back to her senses. She lowered her head and saw a jade bracelet on her wrist. She stared at the boss with confused eyes. "Uncle Wu." Fu Jianxiu just smiled slightly and touched her hair with his warm palms. "Happy birthday, Xiao." Zhang knew this bracelet when he was young. This bracelet was passed down from generation to generation in the Fu family to his daughter-in-law. There are 2 bracelets in total. One of them is in the hands of Fu Qiao's current wife. Now this one is in his own hand, and he is doing it in front of so many people. Zhang Xiao's little face turned a little whiter, her black eyelashes trembled slightly. Looking at the big man's gentle face, she didn't dare to take off the bracelet at all. She looked at Mr. Fu, who stared at the big man. The man's eyes also became a little darker, and there was anger in his turbid eyes. "The boss is seeking death. You still have to pull yourself up. Fifth uncle." Zhang Xiaoxiao swallowed and plucked the bracelet on his hand. Who would have thought that with just a slight movement, the handsome man who had a smile on his lips 1 second suddenly fell down in the next second. Zhang Xiaoxiao's heart trembled violently, and with a pale face, he whispered, "Thank you, fifth uncle." After Fu Jianxiu had given away the gifts, the banquet had begun. Many ladies came to establish relationships with Zhang Xiaoxiao. After all, tonight they had seen how much Zhang Xiaoxi was valued in the Fu family. If they could establish a relationship with the Fu family in Ruchen, then it's like climbing a tree that won't fall. Relationships are very important in upper-class society. Zhang Xiao was surrounded by the ladies for a long time before he was freed. He immediately ran to find Chu Hanyu. He had to leave in an hour or 2, so he had to say goodbye to her no matter what. Looking around the entire hall, Chu Hanyu was not seen. Instead, he saw Nangxuan and Chen Baiking going out together. He frowned slightly, wondering why they were together, but he did not follow him and was pulled away instead. Hold your wrist. Zhang Xiao turned her head and looked at the person holding her, third aunt. Come on, follow me. Fu Yan pulled her out of the hall and walked to the back garden of Fu's house. Zhang Xiao followed Fu Yan closely, and the road became more and more eccentric. Third aunt, are we leaving now? Zhang Xiao said. Well, you go first by car. The helicopter is parked at my friend's house. You can go directly from there. Fu Yan pulled Zhang Xiao, but her heart was calm. At the banquet, Fu Jianxiu put the bracelet on Zhang Xiaoxi's hand. The impact was too great for her, and deep down in her heart, she was unwilling to think about certain things. Let me ask for some recommendation votes, he. End of this chapter.